Hello YouTube. One of the things I've been working on is chapters for my new book, which I'm pretty excited about. So I've posted two. They're free. I'll make a link and put it here if anyone's interested on how to get the PDF for that. But pretty fun project. The other thing that's taking up quite a bit of my time is pipelines. So continuous integration pipelines, but cloud native. So I spent some time working on the command line, looking at Canico, Scaffold, evaluating different tools, and I came across one called Tekton, and I like it. I like it a lot, and I'm going to try to explain why in this video. So as I mentioned, Tekton is cloud native. What I wanted to do was focus on the build pipeline and not managing the cluster and all the stuff that goes with that. So I went with this cloud provider. So I terraformed the cluster and the storage, buckets that could be used for various things. But the reason I didn't do the node pool was because storage, you need to be able to read and write to and from cloud storage and GCP. The output of these pipelines is going to be build containers, right? So we can run test cases on those and do things, normal things that you do with a container. But the node pool, something about it was read-only if you provisioned it through Terraform. So, also I added some labels so that I could tell Tekton, it's a node selector. So essentially here's my repo, a lot of YAML. Other than the Terraform, I think it's mostly YAML, and then I tried to document what I was doing as I went. So there were some Google Cloud specific issues I had to overcome. So I have a first node pool for builds. This is where we're going to be working. And then I have another one for testing Palo Alto Network's CN series firewall. So that's a separate topic and video, but so Tekton has somewhat of a web front end, but it also has a CLI tool. And you just type TKN. So the point of this tool is to manage a couple things. Tasks. I'm not going to say discrete actions because tasks can have steps, but you also manage pipelines. So you can see here we have pipelines and then pipeline runs, which is just like it sounds, right? You ran a pipeline, which is a group of tasks, a grouping of multiple tasks. And there are shorthands for everything. So I'm typing ls, but ls is shorthand for list. So if I say tkn task ls, these are my tasks. Here you can see executions of the tasks. Okay, and again, this stuff's in the repo. There are tasks, these tasks that I used. So I went out and I found repos, existing repos that I had, nothing sensitive and so on. For example, my resume is a Flask app, but it makes a little container. And what I wanted to do was, at the end of the pipeline, have those containers go to container registry, GCR. These just specify, they're like pointers to GitHub repos in this case, that we can refer to from our tasks. So this task is named GCP tagging test. So that's how the task run, that's the hook for the task run to call this. And then there's the resource I alluded to a moment ago. I feel like the feeling I get when I use GitHub Actions with this. So this task has a step. This is something, maybe I would put this in a make file and then in the GitHub Action say make Python or make Docker, make something, right? This script just installs the dependencies and then actually calls Tox and runs the Flake 8 Tox environment. So let's see real quick if I say tkn task ls. Sure enough, there's tagging test. Real quick, the task runs. Okay, so this is the task run that calls the task we just looked at. Okay, so out there in Cloudland, something is happening. Let's find out what. 45 seconds ago, yeah, this must be us. So if I say kubectl describe pod, so it pulled the images, created the container, and ran the tests. Okay, so now that it's done, I should be able to get my logs here. And yeah, we got success. So this is the pip install, and this is the tox run of a couple of the unit tests. So beyond tasks, we can also have pipelines, and then pipeline runs that let you apply the pipelines. These are collections of tasks. I think you get the idea. I also have tasks that build, and then the build is a containerization, and then push those containers to the registry. You can push to different registries. This works with GitLab, right? All different things. So you can put whatever flavor of sausage in and get a delicious encased, edible whatever out. I think that's important because you're not locked into any one technology, right? You can test all sorts of things. And I do want to mention the community has a nice, they call it a hub, so hub.tekton.dev, where they have pre-made tasks that you can take and repurpose as part of your pipelines. The pros of this, I like that it's cloud native. I like that, so for example, I had a problem with my webhooks in Tekton a couple times, and I was able to just blow that away, right? Blow away that pod, and it was recreated on the fly, very easy to manage. A lot of that complexity is abstracted away. It works with Docker files, another pro that you already have in place. Very, very handy to be able to at least feed this stuff right into the start of the pipeline. Some cons, this is a huge change, I think, it's going to be a huge change. Let me say that a different way. Cloud, I think, is unavoidable, and teams are gonna have to adapt, and there's a learning curve there, right? So just in this video, I've alluded to Terraform and Kubernetes engine, and cloud providers all have their own specific foibles and issues. Docker and Tekton and Canico and all the stuff that goes with it. Not to mention, this is all predicated on, I had a working Python build environment paradigm, right? That whole ecosystem of linting with Black and how the requirements work and all that stuff, right? There's a lot to learn, there's a lot to know, and I think that is a hindrance to the adoption of this stuff. So as easy as we can make it, that will speed the adoption, and I think there's a lot of advantage, right, for teams to go this direction. So for me, the next steps, I think, I'm going to steal this PubSub trigger or PubSub thing from another project. So maybe twice a day, right, I'll start automating these task runs. And then the other thing I think is interesting is Jenkins X. So I hear that it's a cloud native rewrite of Jenkins, which if I could have those stages and manage stuff in an easier way, right? Not a lot of folks are going to do this stuff through the command line. I don't know, pretty cool overall, and I think there's a ton of potential here, and I'm excited about the shape that this stuff's going to take over the coming weeks and months. So.